up to a minute.
Taoiseach, you learn something new every day, and I learned something today with a meeting with representatives of housekeeping attendants or domestic attendants in hospitals. They represented people who might previously have been categorised as cleaners in hospitals, from Limerick University Hospital, Cork University Hospital and Letterkenny Hospital. And what I learned was very interesting. As one woman put it, when I first became a cleaner 18 years ago, I was given a cloth, a bucket and a mop. Today, they have to do courses on fumigation, on electronic stuff, I don't even know what it's called, on PPE, on infection control, on a whole range of things. In other words, it has become a very serious skill job, particularly after COVID, and on the whole question of infection control, right? If you don't have people cleaning the place properly, who know how to do it in a professional way, you don't have safe hospitals. They had an evaluation done of their job where the other grades were given a new categorisation and as a result pay increases, because there was a recognition that their job had changed and it should be valued more differently.
Thank you, Deputy. These
groups of cleaners were not, their application to have their job recategorised was not accepted, and they haven't seen the evaluation report. I know you won't know the answer to this, Taoiseach, but I would ask you to look into it on behalf of these workers, because their vast majority are women, is the point.
Thanks, Deputy. As I mentioned earlier, Ireland's gender pay gap is 11.3%. Which is a narrower pay gap than the EU average, and I'm happy to say that that is less bad, not better than, if deputies prefer. It would be in line with some of the Nordic countries, though, which are often held up as examples for us to follow in terms of gender pay. But my view is that there should be no gender pay gap at all, and the objective, therefore, must be zero, or at least statistical zero, as close to zero as can be achieved. That will take some time. Very often, there are there are many factors at play, but among the factors that are at play is not enough women in senior positions. And of course, it's only as those vacancies arise that more women can be promoted to those senior positions. And secondly, there's a whole issue around increments, that men may be in employment for longer and have built up increments over time, which actually give them higher pay for the same work. But I don't think anyone in this House would propose that we remove increments in order to achieve gender equality. In terms of the gender pay gap, I think there is a difference between the state pension and occupational pensions. I don't know what the gender pay gap is for the state pension, but I think it is much smaller than is the case for occupational pensions. And of course, occupational pensions are related to the number of years that you work and the amount that you pay in. And I think as more women enter the workforce, as more women get better paid jobs, as we introduce auto-enrolment, you will see that improve. But it is fundamentally linked to the amount you pay in. That is how that pension system works, and I think that is fair. Childcare is very expensive in Ireland, and it is the objective of government to reduce the cost of childcare and early education for parents and to improve the equality of it. We've taken a big step forward only in the last few weeks, reducing the cost of childcare by 20–25%, which I think is significant. And we want to reduce it further in 2024, subject to the public finances allowing it. And I think that can make a big difference, both in terms of reducing the cost of living for families, but also making it more easy for parents, usually women but not always women, to re-enter the workforce sooner than they otherwise would, if that's their choice. But it's never as simple as childcare, and I may be wrong on this, but I do remember reading one of the Nordic countries that has a public model of childcare that has very inexpensive childcare. I think it might be Denmark or Sweden or Norway, that actually has the same gender pay gap as we do, or a bigger one. So there are many factors at play, and I think we need to bear that in mind. Minister Gorman is bringing forward plans for paid leave for victims of domestic violence. This is a new form of leave. It's very much a step forward, I believe. And we do need to take into account, though, that it is a cost. It is going to be an additional cost on employers, including very small businesses that might only have 1 or 2 staff, and also businesses along the border, which we always have to bear in mind, because successive governments north of the border have failed to keep up with us in terms of workers' rights. And that's something that holds us back then as well, because we have to have regard to the failure of successive governments in Northern Ireland to keep up with us when it comes to workers' rights, and the impact that has then on small businesses on our side of the border, for example. There are a lot of proposals at the moment for new forms of leave, which deputies will be aware of, and we do need to look at them in the round. In relation to childcare staff not being properly qualified, that is a matter for Taoiseach, but I will certainly make Minister Gorman aware of the fact that Deputy Tobin raised it here in the Dáil today. And I broadly agree with Deputy Boyd Barrett's analysis in relation to cleaners. Being a cleaner is increasingly a skill job, more so than it was in the past, and increasingly so in a healthcare setting, where you have blood spills, where you have PPE, where you have a need for infection control. There is an employment regulation order for contract cleaners. I'm not sure whether that applies to the group that the Deputy is talking about, and I haven't seen the evaluation report either, but I will make some further inquiries about it.